2018 Board of Supervisors meeting for West Rockhill Township. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, are there any public comments on the items on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll proceed. Announcements. We will have an executive session covering real estate following the meeting. We had a snow emergency declared this month on January 4th and 5th because of the storms we were having. And I wanted to note that if you haven't noticed it in the last couple months, on the back of your agenda, there's a complete list of all of the policies that for public meetings held in West Rockhill. So everyone understands exactly what the rules and regulations are. Everyone can understand exactly what is expected from you and what's expected from us. Okay, so take your time, read it. If you have any questions, you can ask one of us after the meeting or send us a note. Okay. We are also following a new format this year. We're moving to a consent agenda. The consent agenda allows us to take items which don't require a lot of conversation, are usually just put up on the board and read, and don't change very often. So we take those, we can group them together, and we can very quickly just approve them. We can move on and cut out probably 20 minutes of the meeting. So, glad to see Bob is cheering. Okay, so I'm going to move ahead. Does anyone have a question about the consent agenda or how it works? By the way, everything that's in the consent agenda is now online. If you go to the West Rockhill Township website and look under Board of Supervisors, you'll see the agenda. And under the agenda, you will see the consent agenda, and every item and all the details are on there. So you have an opportunity to look at it before the meeting. All of that information will be posted the Friday before the meeting, so Greg and I posted it all last Friday, so it'll be there for several days. And you have the right to call the township and ask questions if you see anything that you'd like more information about. Okay. So I'm going to continue with the consent agenda, which includes the minutes from the approval for the minutes from December 20th, 2017 and January 2nd, 2018, which was our reorganization meeting. The WIN plan review status and authorization vouchers. The emergency services report. The building, zoning, and building permit report. And the public works report. Do either of you gentlemen have anything you want pulled from the consent agenda?
No, not at this point.
I don't have any.
Right.
I didn't see anything that needs corrections. I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, done. Okay. Confirmed appointments. Mrs. Schremeyer.
Hey, Regina Schremeyer, 2115 Sterners Road. I'm back because the questions that I submitted to the last meeting were not answered. There were not answers to those. And so those questions were, which of the board members approved this aerial survey of the M&M quarry? When was it initiated? When was it completed? How will the survey results be used? And what is the in-kind value of the survey, engineering, design, and preparation?
Okay. I prepared to talk about that, and I forgot to bring that document up.
My other comment is I don't understand why I had to submit that 2 weeks before it was supposed to be answered, and I never got the answer in December, that I'm back here again a month later. Well,
I think there was a miscommunication there as far as that part of it goes. I would like to say that you had asked the question in the meeting, and the answer that you got was it'll take 100 years. Well, that's not the answer. The answer is that the meeting was held to do a full reclamation, to understand what it would take to do a full reclamation. And I think many of us attended the quarry tours, so we understand what a reclamation is. It's not filling the hole. It's having the slopes come in at a 30-degree angle for so many feet, drop down, stepped down all the way in. So knowing that, it's a lot more of a process than just filling the hole. H&K went back, they did an aerial survey, they did an engineering study, they did a study of their, with their blasting organization to understand exactly what it would take to do the whole thing. The studies concluded, yeah, let me just find that. The conclusion of the study was that they could do it, and the total cost to do that reclamation would be $1,653,380.93. That would be the cost to do the reclamation. For their part, the work they did, the survey, the in-kind cost of the survey was $1,800. The CAD designer work was $3,500, and the project management work was $1,200. So the total was $6,500 of an in-kind cost to do the work. Okay. Did I answer all of your questions? I'm not sure if I got them all. By the way, it was mentioned in the meeting.
Yeah, who approved of this?
Well, it was mentioned in the meeting that Mr. Duvall attended the meeting along with Greg and with Steve Bala, along with the folks from H&K. I personally, I was not, I can't speak for Jay, but I did not know about the meeting.
Neither
when it
one of us
occurred.
were involved in that.
All right, so it was Don that had set up the meeting, and Don approved them to go ahead along with Jay. Or Don was the senior person there, so he approved it to
Is
move
that
forward.
standard procedure? Anybody on the board can approve anything?
Normally,
May I?
Yeah, please.
Any supervisor on here can sit and meet with anybody
And approve
regarding
something
regarding
for you?
any matter.
For you, for the whole board?
Generally, it's not done that way, but sometimes if you get an in-kind project done like that, it is done. So we were informed after the meeting had taken place of what happened.
I wish I had known about it, because I would have had questions of my own to ask in the meeting, so. But I agree that something of this magnitude should have had the approval of the majority of the supervisors, and it didn't. Okay,
Right, well, thank you for some straight answers.
okay. Are there any other questions regarding that? Did the answers you get satisfy what you're looking for? Okay, thank you. Okay, Planning Commission, Chris Durstein. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Okay, PC met last Tuesday. You mind if I lean against this table?
Right ahead.
Thank you. First thing on our agenda was the reorganization. I was elected the chair, Alex Almer was elected vice chair, and Tim Ruth was elected the secretary. So that's how that went down. We had one applicant, Tony Presti. He brought in an informal sketch plan of a 2.8 acre lot at the corner of Old Mill and Forest. It's in the PC2 zone. He does not own this lot. He's basically looking to see what he's able to do with it. He owns a landscaping business. He wants to use the lot for outside storage for his equipment. Going under a G4 use. He does not want to erect any building, does not need water or sewer, he just wants electric for security lighting and possibly cameras, I believe. Stumbler would be that due to the use, he would only be allowed to use 25% of that lot for outside storage, which, till it's netted out, probably about a half acre of that. Is that correct, Steve? About a half
Yes.
acre?
Maybe 0.6.
Okay, thank you. He wasn't real happy with that, that situation. Wanted us to waive it. It's a zoning matter, so he would have to go through zoning hearing. He wasn't real impressed with that either. He requested that we make a change to make an amendment to the zoning, which I guess he'd have to bring to you guys. We couldn't really give him a whole lot of direction other than to either go through zoning hearing or write a letter to you guys. So we'll see what he comes back with. We did let him know that he would not be responsible for land development, seeing there's no building. He'd be responsible for a zoning permit and a stormwater management permit, plan permit. Other than that, that was all we had. Steve, if you have anything to add to that?
No,
Okay.
no, he's doing his due diligence
Right.
before he purchases the property.
Bottom line.
What use would it be?
Contractor services.
I'm a little confused about not being allowed to put a parking lot in there.
He's allowed to put a parking
Yeah.
lot, but he can only use 25%.
Why?
In the G4, it defers to H3, which says outside storage. Without a building, without outside storage, can only be 25%, up to 25% of the property.
Why did we allow more than that on the Deal property when that was done?
I'm
No,
not
you
familiar
don't
with
know
it.
that. You don't know. You wouldn't know that answer to
you?
that, but.
I think, well, there was a lot
Remember
of,
Kevin Deal's property where the police station now sits? We had
I believe there
contractors.
was some negotiation on that property. but
I don't
wasn't
know
part
that
of
they
it.
ever got a permit.
I
Did
think
they?
I think they did.
Okay, I don't remember that, but when I hear you saying that, we had a similar situation with, I won't name the name of the person, but like it's on Old Bethlehem Pike near Waco Road.
Yeah.
And you can't have an accessory use unless you have a principal use, and all he's talking about is use it, if all he's going to do is use it for outside storage, that's just an accessory use. Outside storage has to be accessory to a principal use. So, okay, everybody's looking at me like I'm crazy, so I'll stop talking.
No, go further, because I was under the impression that that was part of our zoning change for commercial here several years ago when we changed that area. That's part of the area, am I?
Correct.
PC2.
It is zoned for G4 contracting services.
Okay.
And I'm just trying to find a definition of contractor services, and usually, outdoor storage is a use that's accessory to contractor services. You would expect that, and that's why it's in that kind of district, right?
There's a caveat in the H3.
And it's taken me a while to get
Okay.
to the G uses. I looked at the H use already.
Mr. Presti has not filed for a zoning permit at this time.
But I mean, if he's doing his due diligence before he buys the property, it would be nice to let the guy know what he could do before.
Oh,
Sure.
Absolutely. But anyway, there's a caveat in the H3 that stated if there was no building, that's where the 25% maximum came in.
I find it strange on a commercial piece of property like that he wouldn't be able to put a parking lot there.
You can't
Or
put a parking
I should say only
You
use
can't put a
25,
2-acre parking lot.
25%.
Yeah, you can put, and he said right now, that's more than he needs at the 25%, but it limits his expansion possibilities.
Right.
Which is understandable.
Okay, I guess we'll look into that a little further then, huh?
I'm suspecting we will be, yeah.
Yep, okay.
All right, we'll take that as an action.
So that's
Okay.
all I have.
Okay. Any other questions for?
I have none. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Is that how you feel like you read it?
I'll tell you what, after last year,
Yeah, no kidding.
kind of a relief to have a little thing come in like that.
Don made a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Chris.
All right, thank you.
Chris. Park and Rec, Bob Strobel.
Yes. That was quick. The Park and Rec went through our voting, and I'll be here for another year as chairperson.
Okay.
I tried to get somebody else, but Suzanne said no, so, and Dave, maybe next year.
No, I
We'll see
really,
it. Maybe a new look,
really,
you
I
know.
think we need to rotate positions. And I think that's very important. I mean, we've seen it where, like, with the planning commission, where Jeff was in charge for years and years and years, and then, Chris had to step in. He had never done that before, right? I mean, I'm not saying you're doing a good job, Chris, but you need people to get in there and understand the job and understand what they have to do as a chairperson. So I'm encouraging the Park and Rec to do the same thing.
Yeah, we're, I really talking to Dave Hart. He'll be here next year.
I said I'm still president of the Little League, so I still
He's
got a
got-
couple
yeah.
other things on.
Okay, well, that's great. Okay, good.
But we have
Thank you.
somebody in the wing there, ready to try
Yeah.
something different.
Okay, good.
Okay, let's get on, we had quite an agenda to go through, but I'm gonna first talk about Dave Reese and the Little League. He'd like to install, and we voted on, a air
Open air.
dugouts in the new ball field,
Open air dugouts?
open air.
Oh, open air dugout.
Open air.
Oh.
So Dave came with a little diagram here, a picture to
Yes.
show you what he has in mind.
They're open air dugouts. It's more or less to keep them out of the sun and stuff
Oh,
like that. It's an Eagle Scout project that they have. We have an Eagle Scout that's willing to do the work. We usually get Shelley's or Waring's to donate the material, and then the Eagle Scout gets to do the project. So it's a young man that actually played baseball for Little League for years. So we were looking for the approval to, it's not gonna be just like that, because it's not gonna be blue, it's gonna match the same color.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
Right.
similar, that's the picture I have. He doesn't have the plans, but when I have the plans, when he gets them from, when they design them. So they'll be talking to us before next meeting, which is the beginning of the month.
these
It'll
just-
look very
Are
similar.
these just like 6x6 posts and?
Yes,
Oh.
that's all it is, and then a roof overhang.
Okay,
So I mean, that's all we're looking to get approved for the new 50-70 field.
yeah.
Is this something that he needs the okay from Steve as an engineer?
Because once we get the plans from, and he creates plans, I'll talk to Steve about it, and I can, if there's any.
I don't see any particular problem with it, but certainly give me a copy of the plan
Yeah,
when you have
as
it.
soon as I get them from the Eagle Scout,
Okay.
I'll give
Right.
you guys the plans.
Right.
Thank you.
So we're looking for the approval from you for
Then I
him
can
to
move forward and tell him
move on.
that he can move forward with his Eagle Scout project.
Yeah,
That's
can-
why I'm here and why I have.
Okay. Can we get the plans first and then make?
What's that?
No, I'll make a motion that we approve this concept
Oh, okay.
and let Dave get the plans to
I'll
us
give-
when
as
they
soon-
get
Like I
them.
say, as soon as I get the plans, I'll give them to you guys.
Okay, all right.
And let you know,
Don,
present
would you
them
second that?
again.
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye,
Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
thank you. Do you need this back?
No, I got.
Okay, well, then our main issue of that night of our Park and Rec was the tot lot, and we're hoping for phase one. Phase one, Steve, Seth and I had a meeting over at the park and looked at the tot lot and some ideas. I had an idea, everybody does, different ideas, especially on the input for the ramp. So right now, Steve came up with an estimate, and it's based upon the expanding the tot lot 25 feet to the rear by the entire width of the tot lot now, and 25 feet will take it back to the existing drainage, or very close to what is drainage now. The phase one also would include the mulch to be removed, the wood chips, which are starting to break down, and he says they should go down to about 12 inches.
And that would have to be replaced anyway because they're breaking down, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And at that time, there was talk, I think, about putting proper drainage in
And
to
also
get
the
to the back?
drainage
One of the
pipe.
reasons they're breaking down is it holds water.
Holds water.
Right.
Within the boundary there. So, yeah, we put under drainage in there.
Okay.
And then we'd install new mulch, and then install a new pad for the entranceway.
The
Yes.
ramp is actually the least of the big issues out there.
It's minor, really.
It's minor. It's more of a problem where it goes over the border. We have to get rid of that border and have a better pad at the bottom that holds up. What we noticed was the other problems of the drainage, the wood chips that are deteriorating, and just that there's, when you consider all the safety zones for equipment, there is no real room in there now to put more equipment.
Right.
The, is the drainage issue what's causing a lot of the holes and stuff in there too? Like underneath the swings, there's some huge holes, really deep. I didn't know if they was just from
No,
wear or
that's-
They're from kids'
That just
feet.
needs to be maintained on a
Okay. Oh, okay.
semi-regular
All right.
basis.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just from play.
How much do you already have? I mean, you've been collecting donations for years,
That's a
but,
good question.
but how much do you have? I mean, we're looking at $12,000, and I'm just wondering how much of that could be offset by the money you've already collected.
I don't think
in your
we've
fund.
either collected $1,000 yet, have we?
What's the 2,000
I don't think
plus?
so.
No,
I mean, through, Septemberfest with our jars and so,
Yeah.
a couple $100, you know.
It's under
All right.
that.
I don't think
It's under 1,000.
I don't think it's
Okay,
800.
all
I'd
right,
say it's well
okay.
under.
All right, I just wanted to know.
Yeah.
Now that 12,000 had an extra $1,000 in case they had to remove the,
There's an electric conduit back there somewhere, and it's, most likely it'll be right in the middle of the top lot, which is not desirable, so. That's probably a heavy number, but we just wanted to make sure if we have to rerun, it's about a 300-foot run, the whole thing. We'll have to look at that, whether we can put a handhold in it and split that run up and, cut the costs down. But we wanted to make sure at least we were covered to be able to correct that if we had to.
so if we were to get you approval on this phase 1, we would have the expansion completed, and then in the future, we would be able to add a new item to our tot lot in that 25-foot area. The other option was to take the swings and rotate them and move them, but as I was informed by Seth, the cost would go up. You'd have to probably buy a whole new swing set because the
Anchoring, where they're anchored.
pillars and the anchors are starting to break down. I mean, we're talking 20 years. After 20 years, things rust and fall apart.
Okay.
So, that was just our first look of what to do there. If the swings stay, which we're talking about, and we, remove the mulch and install the new mulch and get the drainage in there, expand 25 feet, we're still talking, almost 12,000,
Yeah.
for that cost. I think that's fairly close, you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, it's been, like you said, 20 years since anything's been done with it, right?
Right.
Don, what's your feeling on this?
Well, I think, sounds to me like it'll be done in phases. I mean, they're gonna have to spend $6,000 or $7,000 for the, fill until the rest of it's all done.
Yeah.
So if you take that out, you're talking about a $4,000 to $6,000 thing. And I think, I don't know, I mean, this has been a discussion, well, why wasn't it brought up as a budget item and budgeted for this year? So maybe we want to consider we modify pieces of other parts of the budget to accrue the money to pay for it. Be my suggestion.
I think it was brought up last year. I brought it up a couple times.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, never budgeted.
You're exactly right, we didn't.
We didn't budget, right. Now, we have, right now in the park and rec monies, we have like 12,000, correct? Roughly, I think it's.
Yeah, something like that.
Somewhere close to that.
Yeah, around
It's 11 or
12. So, I mean, if we were to come up with, but if we were to take 6 out of our portion and ask for 6 from the township, we would cover those expenses. At least that's an idea. So
And
we
it
would-
wouldn't all be one time, it'd be,
It'd be spread
As it
out through
progresses.
the year, yeah.
But the point is, the expensive part is the new mulch, which is over $6,000. And if you get in there and you remove all these wood chips and all this mulch, then we're gonna have to have the area, fenced off, and I don't know for how long.
Well, one thing that we don't do here is, and we should, because mulch does not last, it breaks down. It's been how many years since we put mulch in there?
Well, we put in mulch a couple of years back.
and that's really a maintenance issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's ongoing.
Okay.
But that's
So
because
that
there
should be
wasn't.
budgeted.
That's because of the drainage, Don. The drainage wasn't put in properly, so you have all this water sitting in there. And as
No
people
drainage.
have seen, when the water rises, then the wood chips get overflowing on the side.
But
and
this
then-
new mulch isn't wood chips, right? The new
No, it
mulch is
isn't.
engineered.
And they rot too, so, with the water in
It
there.
it is wood chips, but it's certified wood chips.
Oh, it is
to be
wood
used
chips.
in a
Okay,
plant.
certified
Exactly.
wood chips, okay.
That's why it's so expensive, $6,000.
Well, I would like us to move forward on this. Now, I know that they won't be able to put in the equipment
Yeah.
that they want to put in,
Right.
but at least get the structure, the expansion done, and get the mulch in there, and the
Well,
ramp, and the handicap
Yeah,
ramp.
the handicap ramp, we would get the mulch corrected, and we'd get the drainage, and we would add the 25 feet to the back, for our expansion.
I think it's important that we get this, to me, that's the foundation, okay? If
And-
you're
and
talking
build.
about, you're talking about the ramp, you're talking about the ground, and the whole foundation of the playground, so, yeah, I can see that too.
Is there a problem, do you think,
I think,
Dave and Suzanne, about taking,
I don't think so.
you
I
know,
think
6 out of our budget?
it's much easier for people to obviously see the size of the tot lot growing, and that when we do a fundraiser for new equipment, they see where it can go, because they see there's empty spaces and
Progress.
taking care of it,
Yeah.
and we're actually maintaining it,
Yeah,
as opposed to sitting there for 20 years.
Yeah.
And not.
right.
I mean, 20 years of not spending it, much money on it. And then it's just like the baseball fields, perfect example. You don't spend money on it, it eventually
Right.
hits you,
Yep.
and it's a big cost then.
All right,
Exactly.
Steve, do you have any idea, any estimate of what time will be required to, from the time you begin till you get to the point where you buying the fill for the foundation? I mean, there are 3, 4, 5 items that have to be accomplished.
Yeah, but, once we find the electric, that could be done independent of the, that could be done first before they touch the top line. Actually, it has to be. 2, 3 weeks, they could probably, Public Works could knock out the bulk of that work. It's not difficult work, it's just they need to spend time there, and when they get pulled away for other emergency projects, that's the only thing that ends up extending projects. It's not an all-summer project, though. It's a 2 or 3 weeks worth of work, and they should be able to.
Maybe what we
Knock that
budget
out.
over.
We built the field in a month.
And at the same time, for one of the jobs is taking, or, yeah, extracting all the old wood chips. Maybe there's a, prime example of a scout project for some scout that come in and help, along with maybe some of the park and rec people, with shovels and everything, and shouldn't take more than a day to extract, maybe, if you had the help, and the truck.
Yeah, right, if you had the help, it would be a day's project.
It'd be a day, and you would have all the old mulch out of there.
why don't we look at taking 6,000 from the Park and Rec Fund, and then, Greg, can we come up with the other 6?
Well, you said you had we have a 12,000 surplus
Yeah,
for last year,
yeah,
so it seems to me that those funds could be used
yeah,
towards this activity.
okay, I would agree with that.
I would appreciate it myself.
Okay,
We
good.
get it done.
All right, I like that idea. Okay. Well, let's have a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion.
Don, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay.
Okay, thank you.
There's your phase 1.
Phase 1, onward.
Okay,
It's been how long, Suzanne, we talked about this?
Way too long.
all right. Okay, what else?
Okay, yeah, we'll move on. Park benches. I do want to continue changing some of the park benches. I had to get some more wood done, and now I'm told it'd be a good time to have Seth and them go over there and remove some of the old benches, put them in the shop, and then I could start, supplying with wood.
Sure.
If this would be a good time for me to.
If you're gonna
move
do
on
that,
If you're
Bob.
gonna do it now.
Do it now, and preferably take the ones that are up the walkway that go to the,
That are really in bad shape.
Yeah.
that go to the pavilion first.
The ones that we moved for September Fest.
Yes,
That were in
yeah.
sad shape.
yeah, they did get changed around a
Yeah,
little bit.
right. So we can get those out of there.
Okay,
Okay, and fishing derby wasn't in our minutes, but we voted on that, Jay, and we came up with a date of the 21st
21st of April.
of April. We're having our fishing derby. So it's a little earlier.
PSATs?
Hmm?
Was that when we were at PSATs?
I thought that's when,
Yeah,
the
right
day
in the middle
before
of
you
it.
go to PSATs.
The day before.
it?
Just
Oh,
day before,
Day before, okay, all right.
21st.
So there's no
Oh, Saturday.
problem with that.
Hey,
Okay.
that's the date.
That's the date?
That's it, that's the date, okay.
It's a little earlier because Jay'd like to have it earlier.
We don't wanna lose the
Well,
fish. The water
we-
got too
we
warm
had
last year.
problems, Yeah,
Temperature.
all right,
Okay, good. That's it for me.
all right. Make a motion to approve Bob's
So
report.
moved.
I'll second it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Conservation Committee. Everybody's looking at each other back there.
Yeah, they're not,
We meet tomorrow night.
they don't meet yet, so they won't.
I was
begin.
just waiting for David to tell me that. But I think we have an agreement. I think we have an agreement that next month there'll be someone giving us a report. Is that correct?
That's what he said.
I still don't hear any comments. Okay, all right. All right. Police report, Chief Blake.
How you doing, Rod?
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good.
Hey, are you gonna talk
Yeah,
at the next, right after I talk,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
All right. How's everybody doing? This is the January 2018 report, the first report of January, but we're still talking about December stats because we're always a month behind here when the stats are totaled. The department responded to 346 calls for service, 135 were in East Rockhill, 211 were in West Rockhill, there were 33 traffic crashes, there were 39 crimes, 5 Part 1 and 34 Part 2 crimes. And in West Rockhill, the crimes are as follows: residential burglary, a fraud, one theft case with a dollar amount between $50 and $200, one aggravated assault, one simple assault, one sex assault against a minor, one sexual assault against an adult, 6 DUI cases, one possession of heroin, 2 disorderly conducts, 1 harassment, 2 trespass cases, 1 criminal mischief, 3 ordinance violations, and 2 dog law violations. And in East Rockhill, there were 2 fraud cases, 4 criminal mischief cases, 1 possession of heroin, 2 disorderly conducts, 3 harassment, and 2 ordinance violations. Criminal charges filed in 2017 in December, 1 obstruction of administration of law, 1 criminal mischief, 1 possession of heroin, 5 DUIs, possession of drug paraphernalia, 3 of those, possession with intent to deliver, and a fleeing and eluding. Police officers conducted 180 traffic enforcement details, 15 details along Bethlehem Pike, issuing 30 verbal warnings, 14 citations, and 35 written warnings. And they also conducted 251 business checks. The 2015 Motor Carrier Safety Program summary, 82 motor carrier inspections were done, 50 level 1, 1 level 2, and 31 level 3 inspections. 103 safety violations were discovered and documented. 10 vehicles placed out of service due to safety violations, which constituted the vehicles were too hazardous for highway use, and 2 drivers were placed out of service because they were unfit for safe operation of a commercial vehicle. If I could just go back to that first screen, I kind of broke the stats down a little bit for you. We had 4,440 calls for service in 2017, and in 2016 there were 3,925, so there's an increase there. Traffic crashes, we had 361 in 2016, 323 in 2017, so there's a decrease there. Yearly offenses, 529 in 2017 and 466 in 2016. And charges, in 2017 there were 206 charges filed, and in 2016 there were 139 charges filed. So that's the police report. That kind of just gives you a snapshot of 2016 compared to 2017. Last month at the Pennridge Regional Police Commission meeting, no one comes to that. I encourage you to come to that. But anyway, we had several officers honored. 3 officers were honored for saving lives. 2 officers were honored, given chief's commendations for a situation where they were threatened with a knife, and that person also was threatening other occupants of a dwelling with a knife. They were able to subdue that person without using deadly force and resolve that situation there, so they were honored. The police department also honored Judge Charles Baum, who retired this year. The end of 2017 was his last day in office at District Court in Percy, so we honored him for his years of service, and we appreciated him for that. We now use District Court in Quakertown. They combined our District Court up there with newly presiding Lisa Geyer, or I think her name's Lisa Geyer. That's her last name for sure. She's the new DJ up there.
It is.
Is it,
That's
is
her
it
name.
Lisa?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was Lisa or Laura. So we're going up there. We also had one of our officers enter the deferred retirement option plan for the drop, Detective Lewis. This year's May will start his 30th year, so he is slated to retire within 3 years. So he started here in West Rockhill in '88, and then we merged in '92. So that's what all happened at the police meeting that you don't get to hear about because you guys don't come to that. So shame on you.
Oh.
Yeah. That's the police report. Any questions? Or?
Is it all right if I ask a question in the middle
Yes.
of the meeting?
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that okay?
That's okay, go right ahead.
The police officers carry Narcan, right?
Yes,
Have you administered any of that?
yes,
Am I paying for the cost of the Narcan?
you are not. That's donated through the Bucks County Health Department,
Okay,
through an effort with the district attorney's office.
right. Just figured that the recipient had a health plan, might pay for it himself.
No, you're not. You can, I mean, you can, as a family person, you can pick up a dose of Narcan to keep it, in your vehicle or,
No, but I meant that people that getting drugs from the police department through taxpayer. And if I think they should reimburse the taxpayer.
Right, yeah, I don't know where the grant money comes from, but it's an effort through the district attorney's office and through Bucks County Health that we get our Narcan specifically at Grandview Hospital, so, if we run out of dosages there, we just go right over to the hospital. The district attorney's office now supplied law enforcement officers to personally carry Narcan to fight this heroin epidemic, so in my personal car, I have it in there, in case.
I didn't know whether it was costing West Rockhill money.
It is not.
Okay, are there any other questions for Chief Blake? Okay, thank you. I'll make a motion to, Don made a motion?
You second it?
I'll second it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thanks, Chief.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, Joint Recreation Committee, that would be me. There's nothing new with the pool this month, but let's go back to that conversation you just had about opioids. We have a terrible opioid situation around here. You'd be surprised how many people are involved in drugs, and it's getting younger and younger and younger. And we started a conversation, we didn't, actually Pastor Amy Hodder at the St. John's Lutheran Church started a conversation about how we can help the kids and keep them off drugs. And she began talking to Principal Michelle Wiley at the elementary school, and they brought in the PTO, and the PTO started talking, and they came to me and asked me some questions. So my wife and I got involved, and then I brought in Penn Foundation. And we formed an organization, which is yet to be named, but it is being formed as a nonprofit to actually build a youth center in West Rockhill Township. And the purpose of the youth center is to get the children off the road and not have them going out to the shopping centers or the malls, like the Landis Market after school and just hanging out with the older kids and then ending up getting drugs. And that's what's happening as early as 10 years old. That's a scary thought. Imagine a 10-year-old who's on drugs. So I took that back to the Holiday House, and that's Holiday House Pool Committee. That's why I'm talking now. And we voted unanimously to start working through our solicitor on an agreement to allow this new committee to use the YMCA building at the pool. We believe that that's the best thing we can do. We've now got support from many, many, many companies within the area because the word's been getting out, and that's why I wanted to mention it tonight. We have the full support of Penn Foundation. We've got full support of many, many organizations, like I said. We formed a committee. The committee has now formed a board of directors that are going to oversee it so we can keep it legal. And we're moving forward. I've had in Steve to look at it, and Greg, and I've had in a structural engineer because the building needs some work. And we're going to start looking for volunteers to come out. We're going to need paintbrushes and shovels and backhoes to really come in and help us pull this together. We're focusing on 6th graders right now because that's the first year that they don't have any real supervision when they leave school. At 6th grade, they can walk out the door of Central or South Middle School and just go over to Landis Shopping Center. And that's what we want to stop. So,
Jim, excuse me, could you tell me who the partners were again? I know you said Penn Foundation.
Penn Foundation, St. John's Lutheran Church at Ridge Valley.
And you said it was Amy?
Pastor Amy Hodder, Hotter.
Okay, and she's the pastor at St. John's?
Yes, and she's actually leading the group. It was her idea, and we appointed her the head of the
Did you
group.
mention someone else?
I did. I mentioned Michelle Wiley, Dr. Michelle Wiley. She is the
Principal.
principal at West Rockhill Elementary. She's not doing this through the school. She's not doing it as part of the school administration. She's doing this as a citizen who is concerned. The PTO's involved, and that would be Wendy Bradley, who you all know is on the Joint Rec Committee with me, and she's also on the, she's also co-chair of the parent-teacher organization at West Rockhill. So we've got people from all over the area. We've got people from Percy. We've got, like I said, the Rotary Club, and many other groups. So I'm just getting it out there because the word is spreading and people keep wanting to join our organization now. And we're trying to keep a focus on the Founders Committee and then keep a focus on the board and just keep moving it forward. And we're just trying to keep everybody else informed. But we've got a lot of people volunteering to come in and do work. We've got people that want to come in and help teach the kids how to knit, how to do artwork. We've got people that want to mentor. We've got people that want to tutor. We've got all kinds of organizations or people coming in to help the organization in various forms. And we're going to start pulling that together to see what we can do by fall if we can get the building fixed. There's a lot of rot in the front of the building, but the rest of the building is structurally sound. So we're looking at jacking up the front of the building, tearing off the front, putting in, making it a handicapped accessible front end, and then we have to lower the ground level there a little bit because the ground actually slopes down to the building, and that's what caused the rot. So that, in a nutshell, is what we're doing. Like I said, we have a board of directors that's made up of several prominent people in the township and actually in the area, as far, Percy, Sellersville, West Rockhill. So, and I'd also like to get a word from Chief Blake. He's been following us on this, and I know that he has a real concern for the children.
Going back up again. This is a great idea, and I appreciate Commissioner Miller's enthusiasm for this project. He's probably been in my office once a week talking about this. Hey, this is what's happening, this is what's happening. If you remember back in the late 80s and 90s, the DARE program, which was the Drug Abuse Resistance Education Program, and there were officers throughout the United States that were trained in that. In Pennsylvania, in this part of Pennsylvania, that program has stopped. It's because of funding. We were a part of that. We would have an officer in 6th grade, because that's an at-risk group, and going over drug abuse resistance education. So, we don't have that contact anymore, other than, just arbitrarily going into the schools, maybe having lunch in the cafeteria with students. But it was that DARE program that targeted that group. And you'd be surprised at how many 20, 25-year-olds, contact our DARE officers. They see them on the street and say, hey, I remember you were in DARE. And, it's not only the drug abuse resistance education that you're teaching, it's that comfort zone that, a student at that age has with a police officer. So as they go through, adolescence and into adulthood, they have that positive police experience, and they know who to reach out to when they have a problem. That's also part of that building, in that DARE program. So, they take that out of the school. We don't have that. We have Dibler Elementary School in our area. We have West Rockhill Elementary, Sellersville Elementary, Faith Christian Academy, Upper Bucks Christian School. So those are in the Pennridge Regional Police area. That's the schools that we police. So it's hard to get officers in there. So this is a great idea. We are fully behind this. As far as going in there, reintroducing the quasi-DARE program to these kids, and just mentoring with them, and showing them a friendly face, and so we appreciate that. So we're fully behind you on that.
And we really appreciate your support on this. So
if you have any questions about that, certainly contact myself or Commissioner Miller at the police department. And it's funny because, not to keep on talking because everyone wants to go home, but when I started in police work, there was all these puzzle pieces: Penn Foundation, the church, and the police department, juvenile probation, and they were all kind of there. Well, as the years progressed, they saw how important it was to connect those puzzle pieces. We live in a day and age now with social media and with the internet that those puzzle pieces are connected now. So, and Jim's now seeing that, you know, because now we have multiple people want to get involved, and we know who to turn to, that if this child has this type of problem, man, I can get you connected right away with someone that's going to help you with that. So that's huge, and, you know, I mean, that we're able to be involved in that. So, you know, just keep networking yourself. Like he said, he's getting a lot of donors. I was just at a basketball game the other night. I was talking to someone from Revivals. That's First Baptist Church's is a project out there on Ridge Road, and I was telling them about this, and they're like, "Hey, we want to be involved in that." So, you know, I mean, everybody networks, and I mean that's how these projects are, you know, successful. So,
Great. Thank you, Chief.
thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So we are in the process of incorporating the organization, and then once that's done, we will make it a 501c3 nonprofit. That's the plan, and then we're begging people for money, all right? Because we need to get this off the ground. So, that's any questions? If you have questions, you can ask my wife or me, or you can talk to Wendy Bradley, or you can talk to any of the other people I mentioned. There are two people from Penn Foundation, Deb Ryan, who's the community outreach.
I don't have their title.
I don't either.
Yeah.
We have two. One of them is the director of adolescent services, and the other is Deb, who's the director of community outreach. That's what it is. Yeah. So they are both heavily involved now with this program, and they're actually starting to work with the others to pull a program together. So when we have the building, they can actually start bringing kids in. So that's where we are. All right.
Good job.
Probably spoke longer than I should have, but I felt this was a really, really serious situation and something we need to get done.
Well,
Okay? All right, I don't have anything else about the Joint Rec Association.
I'll make a motion, we
All right.
accept
Yeah.
the report,
Joint Rec Authority,
Joint Rec
okay.
Authority Commission
And
report as presented.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Tax collector,
Okay, well, obviously I haven't collected any money for January, because the taxes were liened January 1st down at Bucks County tax claim for unpaid 2017 tax bills. But my total liens were $6,459.40, which is actually less than last year by $896. So I liened less this year than I did last year.
okay.
Good.
So tax bills, next tax bills will go out March 1st, county and township tax.
Okay, great. Any questions for
I
Suzanne?
have none.
Don?
How much we have outstanding, not paid? Suzanne, do you have a number?
I just have the total of my liens.
Well, I guess Greg gets that from the county.
Yeah, and we'll give an updated one now that she just
Okay.
renewed her tax.
Okay. Motion to approve?
I'll make a motion, we approve the tax collector report.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Engineers report.
I think we covered all my items.
All right,
so
great.
I don't have anything else to
Okay,
report.
good, that's good, okay. Motion to approve?
I'll make a motion, we approve his report.
Don, second?
So moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have an ordinance for knock boxes.
Yes, that's the only item on the solicitor's report is a public hearing. It's an ordinance adoption. It's been advertised. It requires a public hearing. So if the board would like to open the public hearing and accept public comment on the Knox box ordinance, that would be appropriate.
Okay, I make a motion that we open the ordinance, or open the discussion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. It is now officially open if anyone has comments
Questions?
or questions. Seeing none,
You can close the hearing.
I will close the hearing.
And the hearing being conducted as indicated in the legal notice that was published in the Parkersea News Herald, you can feel free to adopt the ordinance by making a motion to adopt ordinance number 238.
I will make a motion to adopt ordinance number 238. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Treasurer's report. Mr. Lippincott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only item on my report is the treasurer's report ending December 31st, 2017. I'll go over the funds. The general fund, $517,335.05. Highway 8, $105,021.09. Open space, $850,712.69. The park fund, $15,745.67. The equipment fund, $17.85. Highway capital, $124.70. The street light, $31,334.29. The reserve funds, the general fund reserve, $322,604.03. Open space Manderfield, $50,599. Sewage maintenance, $167,829.97. Stormwater, $5,579.88. The escrow funds, $554,533.33. And the open space Durstein funds, $68.71. You also have a list of bills.
Okay. Any questions?
I have no questions.
Motion to
I'll
approve?
make that
Oh.
motion.
Okay. Don, you second?
Second.
All right.
Subject order.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Old business, we had a resolution 2003-06 for a stone arch bridge preservation. The question was back last month, did we want to remove that to allow bigger bridges?
Safe two-lane passable bridges.
Safe two-lane
Like is in Milford Township and Salford.
yeah.
That was the question.
Right. And we did get a report from the police department on accidents that have been on Allentown Road on those two bridges in the last 4 years?
4 years, yeah. Wasn't many.
There were 3 accidents total on both bridges, a total of 3 accidents if you take in both bridges. None of them were fatal, and only 3 reportable accidents. There were some other things.
And
but,
how many
yeah.
years, I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, what?
How many years was that?
4. It was a 4-year report from the chief. To me, that doesn't show a need to change a bridge or to change the ordinance. Those bridges are only a couple years old now, and I figure it's going to be another 50 years before PennDOT ever wants to come back and do something anyway. So, I mean, my opinion is that I don't see a need to change that ordinance right now, or resolution. I'm sorry.
Are you gonna share this resolution with people?
I don't have it. Oh, you want to read it? Okay, the ordinance was, whereas the Board of Supervisors of West Rockhill Townships have previously supported the preservation of historical significant sites, and whereas the Township of West Rockhill has recently worked with residents to create a historical society, and whereas the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation is developing a stone arch bridge management plan, and whereas the Allentown Road, Ridge Valley Creek Bridge, and the Clymer Avenue Mill Creek Bridge are stone arch bridges maintained by PennDOT within the township. Now therefore it shall be resolved that the Board of Supervisors of the Township of West Rockhill hereby advise PennDOT that as they assess and evaluate the stone arch highway bridges in the Pennsylvania area, that these 2 bridges should be maintained in a manner in which they would be preserved under their historic integrity. And it was resolved on the 24th day of June 2003. So,
Yeah, part of the reason that occurred that way is because the very discussion we're having was part of the discussion then. And the issue was then, and I believe it still is of the same magnitude, to get on the list of bridges to be replaced was 12 years. And then once you got on that list, then it was whenever they got to it. And the bridge at Ridge Valley had begun to fall apart. And the choice is either fix it or wait for 12 years plus. And that was part of the reason and rationale for it. Same issue occurred on the Clymer Avenue Bridge.
That's different. That's a township, county bridge. That's not a state bridge.
But it's the same concept.
Yeah.
To get the state to replace it, but the county replace it, you got it on the list, and so they chose to restore it as it was. So that's why it happened.
But it still doesn't make it safe and passable. That was my intent, to create these bridges like the bridges up in Milford Township and the one that's down in Salford Township. If you go on either side of our 2 townships, you have 2-lane safe passable bridges. And that was the intent, to try to create that. Now, there is a planning. It does take years. But that's not the word that I got from Senator McElhaney when Greg was sitting next to me when we discussed the bridges several years ago, probably close to 8. Anyway, my interest is in safety and making our roads that they are safe and passable. I'm not talking about changing this for a township bridge or a county bridge. I'm talking about a PennDOT highway where month after month we listen to Frank Shemandera complain about the trucks on Allentown Road. They're commercial trucks. Allentown Road is a state road, which they are legally allowed to drive on. And anyone that sits in this room here knows you can't pass on that bridge with a tractor trailer coming the other way, or two cars for that matter. I was only trying to improve the road for the future, knowing that it would take time to plan that out. However, if there's not enough support, then I guess it doesn't go anywhere.
I saw Mr. Straymire's hand first, and then we'll,
May I make a comment on that?
yes.
Michael Schromeyer, I'm from 2115 Sturgis Road, and I'm just above the Allentown Road. I was very dismayed to find out that the two bridges on Allentown Road, one down by the churches and the other one further up, were both replaced with the same one-lane bridge. And then I found out it was the township that actually put that thing you're discussing right now in to restrict it to one lane. And I think with our modern traffic, they should have been 2 lanes. It's probably too late at this point in time to change them. But I'm all in favor of changing the ordinance to allow 2-lane bridges when a bridge is rebuilt. That bridge could have been widened another 10 feet and it could have looked exactly the same and been a 2-lane bridge. Now when Merck or whoever lets out, there's a line of traffic coming northbound on Allentown Road that goes back a half mile to a mile. And it slows down traffic. Cars only can get through one at a time. And you want to talk about pollution of all these cars idling on that highway or on that road for a half hour to an hour until the traffic clears. So I'm all in favor of getting rid of this ordinance and making them 2-lane bridges. I mean, we're in a modern age. We're not riding horse and buggies across the bridge anymore. Thank you.
Thank you for comment. Yes.
Doug Kohler, 1075 Allentown Road. I've lived here for 35 years, and I never thought it was a problem until the last 2 years now. Every time there's an accident on the turnpike, the traffic gets really bad. This past summer, at one point in time, in front of my house, I had bumper-to-bumper traffic for as far as I could see. Okay? And my thought about that is, how's emergency vehicles going to get through? Because there's no place to pull over. Okay? And same thing, if I'm coming north on Allentown Road, it could take me 20 minutes sometimes to get from Upper Rockydale Road over that bridge. I think it's a lot more a severe problem than you realize.
Okay.
So.
All right. Yes.
Tony, Clymer Avenue. Jay, you said the pros about it, but I don't understand what's the cons. Why would you want it to be single lane?
So that vehicles can pass on there safely.
No, I know that.
No, I don't want it single lane, I wanted it 2 lanes. 2-lane safe passable bridge like they have in Milford. Have you ever gone up there?
I don't understand what the discussion is. It's for safety, and like you said, you gotta be able to pass.
I think there's an old ordinance on the township books that says you can't replace it with a 2-lane bridge, and Jay wants to.
There was a previous board that created an ordinance mandate, resolution.
I don't understand why aren't we changing it?
Well, because I'm not getting the support.
Well,
I need a second vote.
That's what I'm asking, is like, why aren't we changing it?
I hadn't thought about everything that you were saying. I think we need to discuss it some more. Yeah. Yes, Michelle.
Michelle Schroeder, 260 Road. I don't really have an opinion either way on it. I do think it is interesting to come upon a one-lane bridge like that. It's kind of neat to see, but I understand the traffic issues that can go along with it. But I would think, though, that just from a permitting standpoint, that it might be difficult, maybe almost not impossible, to widen that to 2 lanes, like the one up farther up on Allentown Road by that park, I forget what it's called. I know that the State Historic Preservation Office usually weighs heavily on on the permitting requirements for, you know, widening something like that, and, you know, dealing with possible wetland issues and possible TV species issues. Definitely the historic